At this time, I'd like to invite up either Cliff or Alan, whoever's going first. I'd like to invite up Alan and Cliff to speak a little bit about Allan Rosen.
Leave it out. Here, Cliff. Go ahead. We're teammates. So it's great to be here to honor Alan and Carol. Cliff and I get to speak about Alan. First thing I want to tell you, I appreciate the opportunity to, where are you? There you are, to talk about Alan. I've had the honor of working with Alan for the last 12 years. And throughout that time, not only did we work together on a lot of projects, but we became good friends at the same time. Some of the things you might not know about Alan are his passions for gardening. Literally before the service, he told me every flower that's up here. Painting, if you've been in his house, you've seen the beautiful artwork that he's done over the years. And also overall community leadership in his community where he lives and things that we do here at Beth Torah. As you look around, you see how wonderful his yard looks. He's in charge of the landscaping, both for his house and everything else in the community that he lives in. And also making sure that all the pieces of the community, cars driving through, everything else is taken care of. But one of the things that's interesting is no matter what Alan's working on, whether it's a campaign here at Beth Torah, whether it's something in his home community, wherever it is, he puts his heart and soul into it every time. And the way he organizes and shepherds people is second to none. I've worked with him on two campaigns and another campaign. So when I was president of the shul, we had the Burn the Mortgage campaign. You all are familiar with that. That was a lot of fun, but it was the vision of Alan, who came in as the chair to say, we need to organize this so that we make people feel important that are participating, make people that choose not to participate, you're still important, and find another way to get you involved and help out. So Alan was very good at working on that. We overachieved our $1 million goal in that campaign. Then we had to have a rabbi search committee, and again, I called on my friend Alan to help with the rabbi search committee. I tried to build that committee to where I had diversity of all the different generations and all the different interests so that when we found you, Rabbi, we found someone that satisfied everybody in the community, and I think we did a great job with that. And then last, and I'm going to turn it over to Cliff, was the Century Campaign. And all of you are familiar with that program also. That was a campaign where we wanted to make sure that we had, in essence, funding and endowment for the future of CBT Beyond 50. And Alan, in every one of those campaigns, one of the things I noticed, Alan always had to sit at the head of the table. He had all of his file folders there with all the notes from the last years of how we've talked about everything, and everything was in beautiful penmanship. The last thing is also worked with Carol when I was president of the shul. We worked on the strategic planning committee. So way back then, Carol was already looking at strategic planning and trying to make sure that the shul that we have today was a vision from what we knew from years ago. Cliff?
Thank you, Alan.
Want this out or no?
I think I'm good. So even before working with Allan Rosen on the 2014 Burn the Mortgage campaign that Alan Hoffman mentioned, I first got to know Alan and Carol on a synagogue trip to Israel led by Adam Raskin. Rabbi Raskin wanted to explore selling our building and building or buying something in Dallas or Plano. Alan asked me to join the committee that undertook that exploration, and we explored a number of options before quickly proving the financial folly of that undertaking. That time did not go to waste, however. After the CBT preschool shut down, Alan assumed the responsibility of finding a tenant for the space and engaged the brokers we worked with on the previous relocation efforts, who specialized in schools and houses of worship. After an initial short-term lease to an English as a second language program, at the end of Alan Hoffman's presidency in the early part of Sid's, Alan was instrumental in the leasing process, showing the space to prospective tenants over a 6-month period, negotiating the business terms of a lease with bilingual whiz kids, who are still our tenant, and overseeing the work needed to bring the education wing up to code, including ADA compliance, adding security doors, and installing a fire sprinkler system, all in a short 6-week window the school needed to open in time for the new school year. More recently, Allan co-chaired the Century campaign that Alan Hoffman just mentioned, which reached its ambitious $1 million goal in a record 5 months, roughly 1/3 of the time we spent on the Burn the Mortgage campaign. The objective was to augment our budget and create a fund that would underwrite previously unbudgeted staff positions, such as our then chief administrator and current executive director. Alan asked me once again to give his thanks to the rest of the team, which was Sid Friedman, Larry Guzik, Alan Hoffman, Mike Precker, Vicki Silvas, and me, and of course to all of our donors. I don't think people realize the actual financial impact that Alan has made to the economic viability of Beth Torah. The Burn the Mortgage campaign and the Century Fund campaign raised some $2.3 million. If you look at the preschool rent payments in the same way as endowment distributions, that is worth another $2 to $2.5 million. So just between these 3 projects, Alan is directly responsible for between $4 and $5 million towards our financial well-being. And that does not include all of the money that Alan and Carol have contributed to other campaigns. So I think it's safe to say that we all owe Allan Rosen a large debt of gratitude for the fact that we are still here and financially thriving. But I want to add one more thing. Not only do I consider Alan a partner in these various endeavors on which I've been fortunate to work with him, but I've also gained someone who I consider a great friend. Alan is a tremendous businessman and a tireless worker and volunteer. But he's also one of the finest people that I've had the pleasure of knowing and calling a friend. So congratulations, Alan, on tonight's honor. It is well deserved.
Yasher Koach. Thank you to Cliff, Alan, and of course to Alan. You may be seated. To offer some more Besorot Tovot for Carol and also some more for Alan, we'll start out with Sid Friedman, and then we'll continue with Evelyn Ute, and then with Barry Rosen.
So although I got to work with Alan on all those projects they talked about, I'm here to get to share everything I got to do with Carol as well. So it is my honor to talk about Carol Rosen and share some of the reasons she's being honored today. Evelyn will share as well. I've had the good fortune to get to know Carol and Alan very well over the last 12 years. In addition to our CBT work together, we have become friends who enjoy dinner out and an evening at the symphony. It has been a pleasure to get to know the whole family. I'm glad to see so many of you here. Around the time I was chairing the Rabbi Search Committee, not this one, a lot of years ago, Carol was finalizing a big strategic planning project. Something you should know about both Carol and Alan is that nothing is done that isn't methodically thought out with lots of time, effort, and consideration involved to make sure it's done well and done right. The reports I have seen from the strategic plan are just that. It was wonderful to look back on that report and see how it has impacted things that are still hitting us today. So I would like to highlight a few of those straight from the PowerPoint that Carol presented back then. And this was in 2014, so it's a few years ago. So one of the challenges recognized was strive to embody the core values through a coordinated membership program that creates a welcome culture with outreach to prospective members and unengaged members, a supportive, caring community, and new opportunities for engagement of our members now and that continue to keep them engaged and connected in the future with a special focus on retaining post-bar and bat mitzvah and empty nester families. Another was creating a welcoming culture. This is where CBT will shine. Those were her words. So one of those things was a photo directory for our adult members, and for those of you who got your directories in your Shalach Manot baskets, you noticed those photos. That was the origination of that project. A better Shabbat greeting program. Okay, who in the room remembers the blue cups? Yeah. She said to get rid of those. Have you noticed they've been gone for a really long time? They weren't as good as we'd hoped they would be. Another was executive committee members need to always wear identifiable name tags on Shabbat services, hence my husband's name tag over there. I'm sure there's others in the room. David, where are you? There you go. Special Shabbat greeter pins to be worn by the designated greeters. They have their own name tags. And develop a job description for those greeters. I don't know if it's ever been put in writing, but the conversations that we've all had for any of us who have greeted, the rules exist. We know what they are, we know how to do this job, and our greeters are fabulous. And then explore ways of obtaining follow-up information on these prospective members on Shabbat. So then also she suggested move our membership application to an online application. You might be able to read all the information that way. Bingo, done, and yes, it works. Creating a welcoming, inclusive service. This is part of creating a welcoming culture. Imagine how the new to Beth Torah person would feel through the service. Are there enough cues? That's since then. So thanks to a congregant that was made for us, and we have our page turners, and thank you ladies for turning the pages for us. But this is a great example of that focus. So, and then one more was creating a supportive, caring community. We needed to establish a CBT Cares program that provides needed support for members at times of stress. This does not replace the rabbi, this is to supplement all the work the rabbi does. And one of the things suggests is we need a team of volunteers, they used to call it the Sunshine Committee, that can make phone calls, send emails, and organize needed support for members, including those recovering at home. Thank you, Laura Halper, with all the other helpers that do that work. These things all continue. And the last was a strategic planning priority for welcoming and getting our new rabbi, not this one, ready for her time at Beth Torah, and creating a task force to make that happen, and having partners and working with our rabbi. And I'd like to believe we continued that in the next go-round. So these were all things that were part of Carol's strategic plan 12 years ago, and these are the things that are very still much an active part of our community. So Carol, thank you for all you have done, for the insight you have provided, the discussions we've had over many years about our passion project, Beth Torah, as well as many other topics. You are truly an inspiration, and we and I are grateful.
We first enjoyed the company of Carol and Allan on the Beth Torah trip to Israel with Rabbi Raskin in 2010. A decade ago, yes, I said a decade ago, Carol began facilitating the Sisterhood Book Club. She does an amazing job. She researches maps and pictures of significant places in the book and then screen shares them with us because we have a Zoom book club meetings. Her in-depth biographical portrait of the author is always spot on. In 2023, she and Carol Taper were the Torah Fund honorees. Then, for the next 2 years, they chaired and organized the Torah Fund luncheon event. Carol's dedication to sisterhood is very appreciated, and we all agree, she and Allan have definitely earned the acknowledgement of Volunteers of the Month.
In addition to all the things that my parents have done for Beth Torah, my mother's had done decades-long the service. She was the Dallas area director for American Foreign Service High School Student Exchange Program for many years. She taught English as a second language to resettled older adults from the former Soviet Union, and then helped prepare them for their U.S. citizenship test. She's also been a volunteer with the National Council of Jewish Women Kids in the Courts program, and helps prepare children who have to testify. My father was on the board of the Dallas Lighthouse for the Blind for many years. He was an original board member for the Dallas Furniture Bank, which supplies vouchers for furniture to those transitioning out of homelessness, and helping the Furniture Bank lease warehouse space. I think there's a couple of those types of things people have heard here now. He was also received a Lifetime Service Award from the Mayor of Dallas for 40 years of dedicated service to the Preston Trails community, again, supervising the maintenance of over 30 acres of green belts, 200-plus trees, seasonal plantings, and street upgrades. And I want to emphasize when it says supervise, it really does mean supervise. In his 80s, he's out there in heavily forested, overgrown areas teeming with snakes with the crews that are actually pointing at branches and trees to cut down. I mean, there's no halfway when they do something. In addition to some of these things, he was also the committee chairman for a Cub Scout pack and a Boy Scout troop for many years. So this goes back decades. Both of them have a history when something needs to be done, wherever it is, here, anywhere. If somebody can be counted on, it is both of them to do it. They put their minds to it, and it happens. It's very difficult to argue with both of them when they've made their minds up that something should happen. You're not going to win the argument. So you may as well usually just go along with it and do it. And usually it's going to be better for everybody when you do it that way. So thank you both.
Thank you to everyone who's said such besorot, such wonderful things about Alan and Carol. And would the two of you like to say some words as well? Carol and Alan, would you like to say some words as well?
When we moved here in 1978, and we were looking for a synagogue home, and Beth Torah was meeting in the church across the way, we were impressed by the fact that here was an egalitarian community of knowledgeable people. And we thought with two girls in our family, this was the right place to be. And it certainly has been for all three generations. Our son Barry was bar mitzvahed, and 2 weeks later I got my bat mitzvah because I was never able to do that earlier. So it has been our pleasure and privilege to be part of this community.
Well, I've been in the background working on some big projects, as you've been told, for a number of years now. And I have to tell you, with all the hours involved in it, with all the complaints you heard, with all the circumstances involved, I never thought it was work. Never thought it was work. It was always my endeavor to move this congregation forward. And that's what we did. And I have to tell you, there were never enemies made either. We had some interesting things come up, but everyone was always friendly, and everyone wanted to do the same thing, move Beth Torah forward. And that's where I concentrated my efforts the last 12, 14 years. And it's been a joy. I had great people to work with.
We thank everyone.
Yeah.
Yasher Koach, and it's clear that a whole lot of this work that you've accomplished for our community and for all of these communities, and certainly for the people in your lives, is just seeing the two of you speak together and speak of your lives together and think of ideas together. The amount of help you're able to give each other, you really are the definition of helpmates for one another, in the book of Genesis, where God says that it's not good for a person to be alone. The kind of partnership God is looking for is exactly the partnership the two of you have. And for all of us in a partnership, we aspire to have that kind of interplay and that kind of relationship that the two of you have shown to us. So thank you.